So, growing up as an urban dweller, I've started to notice that gym culture is taking over, and that many of life's problems can be in one way or another solved by hitting the gym. And it's kind of like the panacea of the urban weeb's life. I mean, if you need to get healthier, the treadmill's for you. What about getting stronger? Then the brother with the weights got your back. And if you need to socialize, then maybe the front desk or somewhere near the water fountain's gonna help you out here. And what I'm trying to say here is that the utility that gyms offer to our lives is just as important as VDV Guards is to Russia in Broken Arrow. What up, weebs? My name's Corn, and upon multiple requests, I have finally collected enough replays and also ideas and my thoughts on to make a rather more complete guide on how to play VDV Guards. So do keep in mind that at the time of this guide came out, it's probably post the anniversary update, but we do know that there are going to be some future changes. But regardless, I think some of the things are probably going to stay the same, and therefore we can probably talk about this. Or, you know, like, but then if a lot of things change, I'll just make a new one, right? I mean, you just gotta tell me and I'll make a new one. It might take a week or maybe a bit more than that, but we got it. Um, so I think I'm not going to spend too much time going through every single unit because I've already done so in a previous video on the anniversary patch deck guide. I've already like talked about the majority of them, but um, the reason why you pick VDV Guards is very simple. It is probably the most beginner-friendly and also universal deck when it comes to actually uh, when you start to get a grasp of how the game actually works. And you have many tools. I mean, I've said this again, but you have many tools. You have standoff infantry, you have CQC infantry, you have anti-tank, and then you also have like some of the best tanks that Russia can offer, and some of the best tanks in the game. And I think the only scenario where this deck does not excel in is forest fighting or urban fighting where your opponent smokes a lot. But to be honest, to be very honest, this kind of strategy is not very abundant, or at least unless your opponent is just spamming armor and Bookers and like Abrams, then maybe you could do some adjustments to your deck. For example, like changing uh, like your VDV Sturm to the Sh because it has better AT, and I think like that's the thing though. Only in like very like I don't think a lot of the people here are going to experience your opponent smoking up the entire like area and then just running it down with Marines. Hopping from building to building, tree line to tree line, just blasting you because they have beefier and better infantry, or on paper, tankier infantry. So I think this, like for the most part, we can just forget about that part. You know, just don't. This is not the meat grinding deck. It is kind of the deck that takes advantage of like fighting from distance and also using superior artillery and also tanks to inflict the most amount of damage you can ever deal. So today we have like 4 replays that I'd like to go through on how to actually play this deck. And I think the first one, how about we try an opener one? An opener one for just how to play the deck, because you have two kinds, right? Like I said earlier, like this is a universal deck. So you have times where you get sent to the center, you have times where you go to the flank. And let's start with the flank one, really. And I think it should be this one. Okay, so when the game first starts off, and if you're on a flank like on dead center, even though like you could go into the center, what you kind of want to do is you want to establish and like a recon net as soon as possible, as fast as possible. And you also preferably want to do this with a little bit of help from like maybe some helicopters, because it is highly likely that US like your US opponents will start off with killer eggs and like a lot of stuff. But to be honest, VDV also does not offer the best helicopters for scenarios like these, because they need 2 shots to kill a killer egg. If your opponent spawns 4 killer eggs, they're just gonna blast wherever this is. So unironically, it's probably better to not even spawn too much helicopters. Maybe like if you really want, either you double down, spawn at least 4, and then like with man pads in them, or you just don't spawn them at all. So like this is a very half-assed opening that I've kind of wanted to try out. As you can see, in two out of the 2 replays I try to do this, I kind of get. I mean, I find a little bit of initial success, but I also fail as well. This is also because like they survived because they were low altitude, but. The idea is that you don't want, like, if I don't want to lose my helicopters, I need my Verbas to one-shot the killer eggs. But if it's against any other specialization that's not SF, then the helicopters should actually win. But let's go back to the recon part, because this is actually much more important than actually getting up a Shurad net. And to me, in the beginning of a match, you actually don't need Tors that much. You don't really need Tors, and by that I mean some people probably think Tors are like the bane to US helicopters' existence. It one-shots Guardians, and to be honest, yeah, that's true. Like if your opponents do have a lot of helicopters, then definitely spawn a Tor eventually. But since you just began the match, it's probably not worth investing 150 points, even though on paper two Verbas this costs the same as well. But you know, like you do get to spread out your Verbas, and like one bomb is not, like, if you spread them out, then one bomb is not going to kill both of them. So it's also much more difficult to get rid of a manpad team than it is to just bomb a Tor. So this is such a big flank though. So as you see here, like we're spawning a bunch of recon, right? I'm just gonna keep skipping until the next part because like it's gonna this is gonna take a while. So let's see. Okay, yeah. So here, sometimes people like to sneak these really cheesy helicopters. So this is, I mean, it took me almost 3 minutes to just get to the front with my IV. I managed to spot a Venom. Sorry, it might have. Yeah, okay. So I managed to spot a Venom that snuck through with this on the flank. You don't always have to send this guy to the flank at the beginning. You can always check with the heli or a fighter yourself to see if there's a Silent Hawk or a Venom trying to sneak through with a sniper. That's perfectly fine. But eventually you need to find where you need to get the, like, eventually we dealt with that guy. So starting here, like we finally start to establish a recon line, a recon net, even though not complete or like perfect, but you do have to like eventually set up a perimeter where if your opponent tries to sneak anything through, it will get spotted. And yes, it is true that my opponent is probably not very aggressive because he's playing for some reason he's playing Marine armored, but it's whatever. And he's playing just as defensive as I am, because if today you happen to be playing against an aggressive player, you would actually need to run things like the BTO. You would need to run the Sturmoviki to deal with the infantry. You might even need Terminators and also maybe like the T-80 which is a really good, a cheap tank that's great for like, that's fast enough that can deal with infantry and also like Bookers and that kind of stuff. And on top of that, you still need to like eventually, like in the beginning of the match, like this is still in the early phases, right? After the first phase. Fighters are pretty important before you can actually set up an A in it. Right now I finally got my book, even though it's kind of far away from this side of the map, but that's fine. So like you kind of need to provide your flank with a couple things. Okay, so let's review that really quick. You need a bit of recon, you need a bit of AA, you need a bit of anti-tank. There's also a bit more here, and like this is not perfect, right? This is not perfect, but like at the end of the day, it's kind of like if like you kind of try to get everything, like you try to get everything bit by bit, then eventually you'll have a formidable force to actually deal with something that whatever your opponent tries to throw at you. And if they happen to start spamming the same unit over and over again, then that makes them extremely predictable. And this is probably not the biggest example. I'll show you again later in the next match, but because my opponent never pressured me, I ended up just poking at his like the center of the map where the fight is actually going on. They actually have a lot of influence around F, and they're actually trying to like just blast it through, so we don't go even anymore. And So I guess we'll just talk a bit more about the center. Like, I'm still trying to establish, like, I'm actually pushing my recon into his, so I figure out where his units are. Um, and you don't have to do this necessarily. I'm only doing it because I feel like I'm kind of well, you know, I'm kind of a more active player, but it's fine. You don't have to push this in because uh okay, let's say you do. Okay, let's say if you do like me, then always push in the combat recon in first because they have a smoke. And if they get shot at, then at least you know that the recon is somewhere, like the recon is close, like this Bradley, for example. And if it has a Bradley, then oh, I have a VDV Cornet that's nearby that might have a chance to shoot at this guy. And with a bit of supplies here and there, then it should be fine. And then eventually, I think, okay, eventually, like I also had my recon truck here that was spotted by their Fistive, which is also a recon truck. I'm not sure if this gets changed or nerfed in the future, but recon vehicles getting stealth makes them just as stealthy as snipers are, which is kind of concerning. But anyways, that guy's dead, and I eventually, at least I spot this guy, so I gotta clear him out eventually. So let's just keep on skipping forward. I think I had a part where I used my TAWs. Where is it? Maybe a bit further? Okay, yeah, right here, right here. So, I know this is an exposed position, but okay. It was kind of important to know they were pushing F with with a lot of units here, and let's say today you're actually you have some free points. You know, I'm floating here. I'm floating. I have nothing better to do. I just buy fighters, and which actually refund a lot of points. I buy supplies, and I also buy a TAS that I actually don't need because I know that the TAS is good for infantry blobs, which is actually what my teammates need in F. So you have these like you probably need to have you know think a little bit more if you happen to have a bit of spare time. This is the Koalitzia, that is the artillery that helps you deal with most of the targets, like the singular targets that are just sitting there doing nothing. You know, the Koalitzia's gonna have a bit of a showtime later as well. So let's have the TAS fire its first salvo of the video, and it's gonna quickly show you why it's so destructive and ferment. I mean, the press right, everything here is just dead. You know, it's just bye-bye. And managed to help hold the cap for now, and always remember to move it. I mean, sometimes, you know, sometimes if I didn't move it sooner, it would have been dead, but still, I think it's perfectly fine. And I think the next part, I mean, the rest of this replay is just basically going to be, okay, where is the recon, right? I keep pushing my my infantry forward. Oh, wait. Sorry, okay, around here. So we have my VDV, like yeah, right here, right? My VDV Rosvet could get shot at, but because like this guy is like moving back and forth from resupply just like I am, eventually I can find where his snipers are, right? And it takes me a while, but eventually I think I use my Koalitzia to snipe this building and get rid of it. Also, sometimes you can pretty much just cheese things with your own helicopters as well. Quickly, I mean, I could just show you. All I did was I just shot some rockets at it, and just died. Yeah, so around here. Let's call him the alligator. Here, I wanted to shoot the sniper, but I didn't have line of sight. So, oh wait, is this? Shit, sorry for the Discord ping, I'm gonna mute that. Sorry for swearing as well. So, yeah, here you have like the Cornets doing its work, right? It has a pretty long, like cone of fire as long as you give it some good vision. And then, you know, the alligator didn't really need a lot of. It was pretty easy for it to just quickly take care of, to fire another shot and just kill it. So, and that's pretty much it. Or I think a bit more passive flank. We should pretty much go and hop onto the next one, which is probably this one. So this is a more active flank, and it's also another instance where I open up with 2 Verbas, and I do this only because I'm so Like I kind of have PTSD after my opponents keep cheesing me so much with killer eggs and stuff and openers, but if you don't want to, then it's actually better that you don't. It's just better to open full ground, maybe even one helicopter just to screen. Like don't bring the Verbas, okay? Don't bring the Verbas, just bring one helicopter. That would be fine. And oh, I haven't even mentioned like what's on the helicopter though. Sorry. So this guy, the Mi-35 is a helicopter that people rarely bring. People normally prefer to bring the Mi-28, like the more expensive 30, like the most beefed up version of it, right? Like this is the best helicopter that you can, probably one of the best helicopters you can get for SHORAD, and also like rockets and that kind of stuff. The best optics too, and yes, on paper it's pretty good, but sometimes you don't really need the best to do everything, and this is the case for the Mi-35 because is it a gunship helicopter? It is a gunship helicopter. Does it have some kind of like? Is it completely blind? It's not completely blind. I mean, yeah, sure. Like the Comanche's gonna outspot it. The Guardian is probably gonna spot it before it does. An airplane is probably gonna blast it. But when you lose this thing, is it gonna? Is your butt gonna hurt as much as losing an actual like the best helicopter? Probably not so much. So this thing, the Mi-35, is just there because it can carry troops. So if you need to drop something in the front, for me, I like to drop Verbas, but it's kind of proven to be just not that useful. And on top of that, you still have rockets that can deal with your, to quickly... Oh wait, is this the right one? Okay, this is the right replay. So, what I did here... okay, I already skipped too much. Sorry, guys. So, but what we did here was that I dropped my man pads. I had my first loitering Su-35 because some people like to... I mean, I'm pairing the air attacks here. Hey, I'm doing my part. But if your opponent refuses to like this is what I was looking at for, right? Even though my ally here took care of his killer egg convoy, but the Verbas can quickly one-tap these killer eggs. So this is kind of like the Verbas are just here to deal with like the very cheap SOF helicopters, but unfortunately it's kind of like gambling, so you never know if it's gonna work out. Anyway, so this is what the Mi-35 is for. It's not too expensive. You can kind of check if your opponent is actually like doing fast openers with like just trucks. And even though I lose the helicopter here, I pretty much just denied some of his units, even though not the most important ones. So it's I mean, did it really do its job? Probably not, because eventually I just got pushed out here by a bunch of Marines and ACVs, and it's kind of because inside the Mi-35 I never brought any AT infantry or that kind of stuff to even deal with the ECVs that kept pushing me, like these small trucks, and also the tank in the back. And actually like got pushed all the way back here, all the way back to my home cap, which is not fun. And it was only until I actually started bringing out my armor, which is also another very good part, or like probably the best part of this deck, that I started to win again. So it also had to do with a little bit of helicopters, so I wanted to, but I'll talk about it later. So here this guy's just blasting me with this tank. That Su-24 that was going to bomb this tank also died. A lot of my stuff died here. It was very unlucky. But so here, let's just talk about the average Mi-28 experience. This is the VDV's like it's probably the cheapest and also pretty effective helicopter at dealing with like opponents. So if it's like, this is a Kiowa, and it's a little bit more tankier, or like tankier than a killer egg. But regardless, if you get close, you have a gun and he doesn't. And since it also gets 2-tapped, unless he has 2 Kiowas, he doesn't really have a chance. And even though he had a Lav AD here, that was SHORAD, I could use the terrain here. That's obviously, I mean, this is high ground, right? If I just get low here, then I should be safe. And a smarter opponent would smoke up his Lav AD, but in this case, he wasn't smart enough. So I could just use the rockets I have, just basically two-shot them. I two-shot the Lav AD that's right here. I'm like, right now I'm high altitude again. I'm poking out, and because we're this close, he doesn't really have time to react unless he smokes himself up, which I don't think he did. And I do get a bit back into the fight here. I take out the Viper that I was resupplying in the back, and I go back low once I'm done with it. So you get a bit of helicopter action if you need to, but most of the time it's actually better off that you do some ground action. So right now I spotted some supplies. I'm just gonna poke them with my mortar, which is something that, you know, newer players also don't do, but eventually you'll have to use it at some point in the future, whether it be smoke or just actually like just popping supplies with them. And so this is the part where it starts to turn from the early transition from the early VDV fast deploying action to letting tanks take over. You know, transitioning to that part where people can't really beat you, like your US opponents. Here in this engagement, I was using the sneak ability on the T90. I'm not sure if this gets nerfed or changed in the future, I don't know, but this tank basically cannot spot this thing. This thing is under a cardboard box and he just can't do anything about it. So he ends up shooting my T80, which gets just ends up blasting him because he wanted to drive sideways and give me a free side shot. But like, you know, the tank buffs tank buffs help this specialization a lot, and with that, I know that like at this point, I did notice that my opponent is getting a bunch of infantry and a bunch of tanks, and that's because he's running green Airborne, and it is a deck with a bunch and a lot of infantry, but actually not very good infantry fighting vehicles, and sometimes you do need the infantry fighting vehicles, and that's when the Kurganets comes in. Okay, the Kurganets. Let's just pause this here quickly. Oh, what am I doing? And here. So the Kurganets is a vehicle where it is basically a do everything at range. It is a monster at range. You do not get close with it because you will die. And why? Because it has no armor. It has no armor compared to like the BMP3. This is like, just look at these numbers. It's higher than this one, so you know it's pretty fragile. Or actually, let me use a comparison here. Okay, you compare it to an actual tank, then you know how yeah, like this thing has 10 times the armor of the Kurganets, and you tell me if this thing is actually tanky or not in close range. No, it's not. What this thing is actually good at is the very high damage gun that also is pretty capable of penetrating like light vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, and also like infantry. I mean, yeah. And then also an anti-tank missile that is actually meant for infantry. This thing is pretty much the same range, a bit higher range than the cannon itself, and you can fire this on the move against infantry. So it's pretty helpful when you need to maneuver, but also be able to engage infantry when you're chasing or you're running away from like an infantry blob. This is very helpful. So you use these two in combination with each other to deal like a lot of damage, although not like, you know, the most amount of damage, but pretty high damage. And then if you happen to run into any vehicle or a tank or another IV, then the Cornet is pretty capable of just blasting it. It's very lethal, and for people that are less experienced in Broken Arrow, they don't really know how to deal with this, because this thing has 2 salvos, okay? I mean, it fires 2 missiles at the same time, okay, one after the other. We call it ripple firing. And then you can do it again. You can do it again before you have to go back and resupply. And most infantry fighting vehicles only get 1 smoke. So let's say they auto smoke, and then they keep pushing, then okay, then you're going to be able to kill it with the second salvo. Let's say it's a tank, then he's either going to have to burn both of his smokes or just eat the Cornet, which actually deals a lot of damage to it. So either way, as long as you keep the Kurganets far away from where your opponents are, you know, you have a certain amount of time to react to what's actually going to kill it. You don't let it die easily. You know, you take advantage of the range and the lethality of these weapons, then you will be pretty, I mean, your opponent's going to be scared of you, okay? Your opponents are going to be scared of you. And, actually, okay, so this is probably, I'm probably not going to show too much of this vehicle in this video, but this is a transport that is basically a tank, you know, it's a T-72 hull. It is a lot of armor, and if you actually need to get to somewhere dangerous, then you let the BMOT do it. So remember, this guy is for like long range engagements. This guy, you just drive him into your opponent and then you see what happens. So and that's pretty much it. He even gets 2 smokes. And there is one thing though, and that is this thing also has APS, which America has a lot of top attacking missiles, and most of your Russian, it's recommended that you actually bring a lot of APS on your most of your tanks so that you don't get too tapped by like javelins and that kind of stuff. Anyways, back to the replay. So the match kind of evolved into my opponent blobbing infantry. Like, where? Okay, like around here. So kind of evolved into a part where my opponent started pushing infantry into my lines by not even smoking, by the way. This is what most of the people do, right? If they don't have infantry fighting vehicles. He's trying to push me, but with the spotting of the VDV Spetsnaz, which is a recon unit, we'll go through that later in the front, most of my troops or my tanks are capable of like engaging them at range, and there's not much you can do about it. This is only when this guy doesn't have IVs, but I mean, actually, no. Even if he had IVs, I still had the cornets to deal with it, and I took enough damage, so I'm just going to send them back, resupply, and then now he roll out the tanks once again. Tell me, where are they? Okay, have some a bit of engagement here. And then I think these guys are like not actually the better airborne. These guys are just standard airborne with AP4s. Yeah, just because of how this guy is pushing, you can really just punish him by utilizing the superior range that your units have. It's just so nice. You don't even need the TAWs, which is something that's used to deal with blobs, and it's kind of relieving sometimes when you think about it, right? Like he's pushing into me, but because he doesn't really have the cover that the infantry fighting vehicles offer, or tanks, which I mean, he's yet to call out one yet. You can't really push these guys for free. It's taking a lot of damage. And in the end, oh wait, he eventually did call out the tank, but that was only after most of his infantry are wiped out. So, on paper, right? On paper, like, yeah, I know I outnumber him, but I even took a side shot here, but like, Russian tanks have an autoloader thing. They have an autoloader where, even if you're panicked, like this, it looks like on paper I'm going to lose against this full HP tank, but what's going to happen is now not only is he panicked, so he reloads slower, he also got a reload crit, and for Russian tanks, all of Russia's tanks right now have an autoloader, so you don't have the debuff. You don't have the debuff where you reload slower, so you can always ensure that if your opponent is panicked or shocked, like you see this yellowish, reddish thing, then you can always fire faster. My opponent was also coping, but hey, it's just part of the fun, no? And then, let's take a look at another engagement here where I let my Terminator bait a shot, but then my Recon T90 basically tried to sneak. Like he cannot spot this, by the way. He cannot spot this unless he has a sniper nearby. So he's shocked here. Okay, he smokes up. Wait, do I even get the shot off? I kind of forgot. Okay, now here goes. He does not see this. Cardboard box gameplay. Okay, well, he's still there, but almost gone. Yeah, there you have it. That's why. Like the T90, I mean, if you still though it doesn't have APS, but just remember to have the sneak button, like maybe on a hotkey or something, so you just press it afterwards, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the match was just a mess, not much to talk about. I mean, it's just going back and forth. But still remember, range is your best weapon against infantry and that kind of stuff, at least for this deck. And the next one is going to be something that's quite important for VDV, or at least when you are a VDV enjoyer. It's kind of your job to do it, and that is loitering fighters. I think fighters, or the job of spawning fighters, is pretty much your responsibility as a VDV player, because you have the best fighters that VDV has to offer, or like Russia has to offer. So, especially when you're the only like player that runs it, you kind of need to prevent your opponents from spawning things like F-35, or like okay, so they're gonna spawn it anyways, but let's say you prevent them from spawning things like the Sentinel, which is a drone that is very stealthy. They can basically see what your entire backline is doing, and then they can bomb it, they can artillery it, they can do a lot of things if you don't shut it down. So, wait, when is the first one that I... Hold up, let me find the timer for it. Okay, 5 minutes 40, sorry. Should be around here, so... on paper, the... Okay, so this is like... Remember, right, this is the early phase of the match. You have the fighters loitering, so before your anti-air is actually set up. I did buy one, but it's still driving to the front. It's gonna take a while, and like yeah, like it's still here driving, right? It doesn't even have the radar on yet, and even if I press the radar on now, it's not gonna be able to catch this. So here I have the fighter AC-35 just driving, not driving, but flying at it, and letting the 9 kilometer and the 7 kilometers basically catch up with the F-35. Also managed to spot a Sentinel in the back. This is what spots our entire deployment, so kind of don't want that happening. Also, this only worked because I was chasing it, but this only worked because they also didn't have their packs up, because this is fairly early into the match, and people don't really tend to... Oh, there was one right here, though, so it's kind of important to... If you happen to be flying into your opponent's airspace, then fly in at low altitude, if you can, because if you don't, then you might actually end up losing the fighter itself, which is actually not worth it. I mean, would you ever like go for a trade where you lose? You lose ground units and then you lose the fighter in the back? Then you probably don't want that to happen. And yes, it's also true that like if you do things like these, if you try to defend your airspace, then you will be behind on the ground, right? Like, what do I have here? Like, my opponent has an IB, a recon vehicle, probably a tank in the back, and probably some other support units, I don't know. But right now, I actually don't have a lot of things. I have a manpad, I have not a lot of things that can do infantry. This guy's completely pushed in, caved in, more like, and... Yeah, like I'm still spamming here, but you know, it's kind of my fault for not spawning an actual tank, which you really should. I know I haven't. It's a bad demonstration, guys. Sorry, but I think while we're at it, okay, good tanks for openings. You have two. You have the T-80UM2 Druzdy. This tank has APS. It is a tank. It runs really fast, and even though it is against another proper tank, right, it's going to lose. But because of how fast it is, it can always get to the front before your opponent does. And if your opponent has things like javelins, you know, top attacking missiles, it's going to be able to at least block one of them before, you know, actually getting blasted by another. So you also have the auto smoke. But I'm not too worried about like losing this tank early on or having to resupply so often. And then you have the Babars, which is even more APS, is just as expensive, but only has cornets as a medium or a method to deal with tanks or like IVs. Yes, the 30mm is something, but it really isn't something that can kill your opponent, but rather the tankiness of this vehicle. Like you can see here, this thing is tankier than the T-80. So yeah, the purpose of this vehicle is actually staying alive rather than killing your opponent. Well, this guy is mainly for like, I mean, you kind of just want to make sure that your line doesn't fold before your other units reach the front. And to continue on that, I think we'll eventually get to like, yeah, so here our T-80 reaches the front, right? And is that a T-80 or is that a T-14? I kind of forgot, actually. It seems like a T-80. Okay, so okay, I'm not shitting over myself at the moment. That's pretty nice. Just me doing some shenanigans. Don't mind that. But when I'm pushing this guy, I mean, there is still a chance that this guy gets ambushed, right? He doesn't have the best optics, but sometimes you just poke around and see, fuck around and find out, right? Like earlier, I think a javelin shot from behind this building, so I smoked it up. But then like that's kind of the purpose for the recon, not the recon, but like the T-80 right here. Like I see a Bradley. Okay, I'm just gonna fire around at you, and then I see a CFV. I'm gonna drive the tank over, and I'm gonna shoot a shell at him before he can do anything back at me. Although there are a couple counters to like a proper tank like this, like the Baltic Battalion's vehicles, like the ones with spikes. They fire one after the other. You kind of need to spend the smoke on it, like right here, right? Oh, hello. He's gone again. Okay, an engagement like this, this is a Brownlee. He fires one toe after the other, and even though toes do a lot of damage to me, I can use my APS to block a shot, even though he didn't fire one at me here. But it was still pretty decent. And then let's keep going. Oh, wait, did I miss something? Oh, I missed something. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here, on paper, it's a bad idea to blob tanks. I'm sorry, I made another mistake here, but basically, okay, on paper, you should be able to two-tap the vehicles or any infantry fighting vehicles. Bradleys are an exception right now. They can take 3 shots, but the idea of this is that with the help of the autoloader, you really can take care of. He even missed a shot, by the way, point blank. But use them to basically deal with most of your problems, thanks to the APS here. So I think I'm gonna lose my units there. I forgot to unload. And this is why you don't want to block tanks, by the way. I almost lost my tanks here, but thankfully it didn't happen. But eventually... Oh, wait. Okay. So right here, right? My Turgonets gets a couple good shots off at the side of the Abrams. Unfortunately, I have to lose it to a Hellfire. But this is when cheap tanks like the T-80 actually comes into play, because it's so cheap and you actually get to call a couple of them early on, though I only have one in the deck. You can kind of drive up to a damaged tank and a damaged Abrams, and you just win the fight. I'm not saying that it wins every fight, because it only has 16 HP and it is prone to getting 2-shot by some tanks at certain distances, but assuming that assuming that your opponent's tank is already damaged, then you should be able to win. And I'm gonna show you right here real quick. 80 It's the tank itself does not have the best pen. Alright, it's not really a good tank in that regard, but just look at the reload, okay? Look at the read this real quick. Look at the reload. So you reload just as fast as an Abram does. So if he's panicked, you always shoot faster, right? You can always shove a second shell into your opponent's face, And yes, it's true that, you know, it's not the best, doesn't have the best damage, I mean the best penetration, so up close, yes, he's gonna deal a lot of damage to you while you deal less damage to him, but let's just say that if it's a 2-shot kill, then you should be able to win the fight, even though you are a 2-shot kill as well. So that's the philosophy behind it. So you could try this out. You could try this strategy out using the T80s, even though it doesn't really have the best penetration, doesn't have the best gun. But, you know, I mean, you know, you should try it out. You should try it out. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I also spotted another Sentinel with the Su-57. I forgot to talk about the fighter part because I was talking about the loitering planes, but I ended up talking about tanks eventually. Sorry, guys. I think so. Back to the Su-35 topic. Back to the ASF. You call them in not only because you can shoot down planes, but actually because you can spot them as well. And sometimes spotting them is what matters, because eventually when your team is now has a proper AK net, they, even though they have, you know, they have a lot of they're probably going to down a lot of planes, that's true, but sometimes you just need to spot the planes before they actually kill you, because, you know, what happens if they're resupplying, they have their radar off, you know, they, even with radar on, they only spot 8 kilometers worth of units in high altitude, and the fighter itself spots 12 kilometers right here, and this guy spots 8 kilometers right here. So there's a pretty big. I mean, you don't have to fly this thing right on the front line. You can put this maybe even if it's a bit behind your packs, or even like a couple, like 1 or 2 kilometers behind your packs, or like, sorry, not the packs, but your SAMs. It's still going to be better than like what, like, cause you can pretty much assume that your team has a radar on the entire time, so that's also going to be pretty helpful. And with the 9-kilometer anti-air missiles, these things, they're not the best when it comes to speed, but assuming that the plane is going to have to strike you and then fly back, you can kind of catch him when he's doing this big U-turn with the 9 kilometers, because you also shoot them sooner before the 7 kilometers, until you get into range, that is. So overall, I think this is a really good configuration for the Su-35. I mean, it's cheap. You even get the ECM, which sometimes this has to do with. Can I pause this? Okay, so this has to do with the nature of US. So normally most of the US's fighters or bombers, they have, like, even the Strike Eagle, they always have like an AMRAAM. They always have like, even the F-35s, you know, they always have AMRAAMs, no matter what configuration you run them on. So if you want to shoot them, they might shoot back at you. And sometimes, and it's like, since you don't want to lose your plane while you try to shoot down their planes, it's a pretty good idea to run ECM. It does help sometimes, and I've had occasions where I didn't bring the ECM because I wanted to be a cheapskate, but it ended up costing me way more points in the process, because my planes kept getting shot down by the F-35s themselves that were actually bombing my ground units, or the SAMs that were in the back. So it was pretty frustrating. So I do think that the ECM itself does come in handy, and although I do think that it's pretty you don't really it doesn't really happen most of the time, I guess, the spotting stuff, but rather than actually, yeah, you know what, like, I just think that, you know, you guys should try loitering fighters, you know, like, it's gonna help you when it comes to dealing with, like, drones, bombers, a lot of that stuff. And I think it's time that we step into the last part of today's video. Okay, what happens if today you need to go into a force and actually fight your opponent? Then, oh boy, I have the tools for you. Oh, this video is getting a bit long, isn't it? So what you want to do is you need a couple units. You need VDV Sturm or the VDV Spetsnaz, which guess I'll talk about it again. So this is the VDV Spetsnaz and this is the VDV Vidische. Out of these two units, I know that personally I prefer this. I prefer the okay, let's talk about the VDV Spetsnaz first. The RPG launcher I prefer it more because it has pretty good range. It can snipe a lot of things like recon vehicles, light armored vehicles, and also snipe infantry as well, which is pretty helpful. But if today you need some CQC infantry, then running this is also pretty nice. It's actually much better than the VDV Sturm itself. But also they also have a lower availability. But to be honest, this is not the deck that is really great for forced fighting. But even if you're forced to do it like I did that match, then I would run a combination of either this or this. Okay, you pick one of the two, and depending on which one, okay. So let's just say that okay, out of these two units, one of them has to be CQC and one of them has to be anti-tank. It's completely up to you. Okay, it's completely optional because you suck at force fighting anyways. You just need one CQC and you need one anti-tank. Let's put it that way. Alright, so what you end up doing is you put maybe one or two of these, the Spetsnaz, along with one or two of the Vidische, into the 15-seated vehicle, which is the BTR MDM Rakushka. You could run these upgrades, but to me, the value of this unit is its large capacity, but rather than its offensive capabilities. I mean, I'm not going to send another 2 dudes on top of the transport just to like die to an AT4, right? So that's kind of brutal. But anyways, so you kind of just shipbox a lot of infantry into like a small area at one time, as you see right here demonstrated professionally by me. Even though, like, you will eventually find out that 3 squads against 3 US squads is not gonna work out, because the VDV squads, even though they are pretty let's say versatile, because you know you can like each infantry squad can take care of one role, right? And I have this guy, the VDV Razvedka has AT, the VDV Sturm has anti-infantry, so if you, okay, let's say, if you're new to the game, maybe this is not the deck for you, right? Actually, what am I saying? Actually, that's so contradictory, sorry guys. But like maybe don't really try to like blob infantry, because you need to click a lot, okay? You need to click a lot if you happen to need to blob infantry, but like if you want to keep them alive, that is. But if you don't care so much, right? If you don't care so much, it's fine, because the infantry themselves, they're cheap. There's 50-60 points each, and like it's okay, you know. Like oh, look at this. These 2 guys cost 100 points each, and they're gonna blast a lot of things before they actually die. So I probably take what I said back earlier. Okay, two Sturm squads against this. I'm losing one quickly. Okay, even if I didn't save that one, right? I was about to blast this guy. Did this? Well, I guess I don't. Oh, but we do take out a small here. We do take out a Marine, and maybe we even take out the what's it called? The engineer. I guess we didn't, but yeah, I don't think we did. But okay, it's kind of like gambling, you know. You just put a bunch of infantry in one transport and then you just shove them in your opponent's face. This is not the ultimate solution to Russia, to be honest, but if you're forced to play a force like this, then yeah, getting like this is probably your second best solution to it. Actually, your third best solution to it. We'll talk about the others shortly after our discussion about blobbing. I think the next clip is going to be this. Okay, so we managed to sneak another BTR MDM with like some infantry here on this forest line, and we're just gonna slowly push them into this whatever that was spotted here by this sniper. So They keep pushing, they blast some things, and then today they got caught out, or like there's an AMPV coming, AVP. This is a vehicle that transports a lot of infantry, but is not very well protected itself. So we used the VDV Spetsnazi, though I could have used the tank variant. Get rid of it. Okay, we take care of that. At this point, I was assuming this to lose. Actually, I was assuming this squad to lose, but turns out he had a Marines and a small combo. This is a very classic combo, and he also made a really big mistake by showing me his small first. You kind of like for him, he needs to hide this. This is the main damage dealer, and his tank is in the back. His Marines are in the back, but turns out he had his glass cannon in the front. So what I ended up doing was I have 2 thermal barracks pointed at this guy's face. And I'm just gonna blast him, like boom, almost dead. And then one more salvo, gone. Okay, and now his tank has pretty much zero. Well, he still has some DPS, but he also gets taken care of because I have 2 thermobaric weapons. I'm 2 thermobaric sturms here, and it wasn't until a 3rd time that he ended up sending like an engineer team and 2 4-con CQC, and all of them are CQC, did he eventually wipe out this. So, you know, sometimes it's pretty nice, you know, it's like, you never know what you want to put inside a BTR MDM, but you just put things inside of it, and then you find out the results. You know, your opponent will also find out the results, but always just try your best to fill it with 3 squads of VDV. And then the last part, I think. Okay, so this is the. I know I haven't really showed the Taz firing this match, because if you do actually need to deal with blobs, Tazes are actually your better option when it comes to this. You can quickly wipe out an area full of infantry with the Taz, and then you also have a bunch of infantry in the back here. Let me skip to the part where it actually mattered. Okay, here. So he was trying to push me with like some bookers and tanks, but I have so much infantry inside here that I can just poke him from the side and get rid of his units. And then now it's my turn to push in because like he sent a bunch of units to die. And then yeah, that was basically it. Okay, our puns are probably not that great, but I think okay, one more thing, right? Remember when I said that you get like blobbing infantry is your 3rd option when it comes to dealing with forest fighting? You have 2 more. Okay, one is the Terminator, and one is the Taz. So the Taz is for you always run the cheaper one, by the way. The more expensive one, like it deals like it has more range, sure, but it reloads slower. It has less salvo size. I don't like it that much. So let's say you want to push. Okay, what you want to do is you just line up a Taz barrage into where you're trying to push. You fire it, and then you push in with like maybe with like this, right? The BMOT, let this cheap thing go in and suicide itself along with the Sturmoviki squad inside, and then until you figure out what's in that cap or like in that tree line, your secondary force or something along those lines should probably be the Terminator, which has an AGL and that can quickly shred infantry that are caught out, and then like if you want to like quickly assault your opponent, that's probably the proper way to do it, even though I never featured those clips in my replay. I'm sorry about this, guys, but and then like but this is like a very bad situation for you, right? You generally would prefer not to do this, because if this tree line is on your side, you kind of just use infantry to defend it, because I mean they're cheaper. If you ambush your opponent, you always get the first shot off. So whether it be a tank, whether it be an infantry squad, you should be able to deal with them with like, I mean, sure, if you want another Terminator, that's fine. When they try to push you without smoke, the Kurganens can do their job. You have tanks as well. Uh, and then, yeah, like, you have so many tools to deal with them at range that only when they push you up close you're actually are you actually in trouble, and you still have a last line of defense. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on how everything works, on how this deck works at least. It probably, yeah, God, it took me an hour. But well, I hope you enjoyed my 1 hour yap, hour long yap, guys. This video was probably a bit more on the slop side, to be honest. All I did was play 4 games, timestamped the important parts, and shared them with you. But I hope it was at least somehow structured. I hope this video is helpful to you and to some degree, and I'll see you guys in the next video if you wanted me to do anything. But I have some other plans for the future videos because a new update is coming to Broken Arrow. Hooray! So yeah, guys, take care. See you next time. Bye bye.